How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Snap Judgments League Week 3. Obviously, I'm not Glazer, and this is Glazer's channel, so this could be a little bit confusing, but Glazer is on vacation, so I'm covering this week for him. I'm going to be doing deck breakdowns and coverage of the games with Gunny T. I'm sure you guys have seen him around. He's joining me for the cast today, but our schedules didn't work out, so I'm going to be covering the decks, giving you guys the breakdowns, the replacements, all that stuff beforehand. And instead of the usual format where we do deck gameplay, I'm just going to cover the decks first and then put the gameplay afterwards. So, not going to keep you much longer. Let's talk about the decks for the week. RJW's Giant Loki. It is a Loki deck, Loki shell, with the Supergiant Alioth Absorbing Man package in there. I haven't seen this since Supergiant came out. I haven't played it since Supergiant came out. But it's kind of like this control Loki list where you have your control stuff with Shang-Chi, with Enchantress, with this Supergiant package. You have Zabu to make them cheaper. You have the ability to get to turn 6 and do things like double Shang-Chi, double Enchantress, Shang-Chi, Enchantress with Absorbing Man. Or if you don't like your hand and you want to replace it, you obviously have the opportunity to play Loki, and you have the ways to fill up your hand with Coulson. I guess Coulson's the only way to fill up your hand, but you have Coulson, and then you have Quinjet to make everything cheaper. With the high mana curve of this list, your hand is going to naturally get full. Obviously, when you are playing Coulson, you're going to be able to fill up your hand even more. And if you go Coulson Absorbing Man, you'll be able to fill it up more to make the Devil Dino even bigger. Mockingbird, I don't think we actually see Mockingbird, so I don't know if it's included in his list that he uses. I included it here, but you can swap it out for another card generating card like Sentinel or Mirage or something like that. But interesting list. It has like a Sarah control feel to it, but it's a Loki list. So I'm a big fan of it. The game is it's really interesting to watch. And I like the Supergiant package. Let's talk about the replacements. If you don't have Supergiant, you don't want to play the Supergiant Absorbing Man Alioth package, then you're just gonna kind of play a different Loki list with like Moon Girl, Mobius, Mirage, that kind of a thing. Maybe not Moon Girl if you don't want to play Moon Girl, but with Quinjet, Moon Girl is actually pretty good. And then if you don't have Mockingbird, you can run Iron Lad, Mobius, again Moon Girl, or just some other card generation stuff, Cable, Mirage, Sentinel, that kind of thing to replace Mockingbird. Loki obviously is needed because it is a Loki list. And then turn by turn snapping. Turn 1, you're looking to Quinjet. Turn 2, Zabu. Those are really your only two plays. Turn 3, if you did play Zabu, you can play Loki. Otherwise, you're looking to play Coulson and just start generating some cards. Turn 4, you have Loki to replace all those cards, or you can go the Supergiant route. If you're going the Supergiant route, your turn 5 is going to be Absorbing Man. Your turn 6 is going to be Alioth. Obviously, you can change up your game plan based on what your opponent does, but that is the main reason to run Supergiant in this deck. And then if you're not going that route, you play Loki. If you don't play Loki and just play another 4-drop, then you can go the Devil Dino and then double control cards on turn 6. Obviously, you play Loki on 4. I can't really tell you what to play because I don't know what you stole. So you're going to have to adapt from that point on. Really interesting list. I'm actually going to give this list a shot. Again, I'm a big fan of Sarah control. This isn't quite Sarah control, but it has a lot of control pieces to it. Has Absorbing Man. You can do some Shang-Chi shenanigans with it. And Shang-Chi is actually really good in the current meta. So really excited for this list. Again, here it is. RJW Giant Loki. And the second deck for the second game that we're going to go over is Vlad Villain's Discard. Now, not going to spend a whole lot of time here. It is a discard list. It's running Meek in this current version, Proxima Midnight, and Dakin, but it's just a discard shell. There's not a whole lot to go over. I'm sure Glazer has talked, countless times about discard. It's a top deck in the meta right now. There's nothing really different about this one. This one's not running Corvus Glaive. It's choosing to run Dakin. So there are some like minor swaps that you can do, but overall it's the same discard shell. This one going for the Apocalypse playline. When we look at replacements, if you don't have Meek, you can swap it out with Corvus. Corvus you may not have either, but Gambit, Helicarrier for some extra stuff to discard might be pretty good. Helicarrier might be You're gonna have to think about it with Modok in hand. Sometimes on turn 6, you want to play Modok to clear out your hand and have your Dracula discard the Apocalypse. If you don't have Proxima, you can also swap in Helicarrier, Gambit, Hellcow, just also Corvus if you'd like. Just any of these discard cards, you've seen them. They're very popular shells. Not any new innovations in this deck, but it is a really good game. That second game between discard and I think it's a high evo discard versus discard. It's a really fun game. It just watch it. I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. Turn by turn snapping. Turn 1, you're looking to meek or pass. You have the option to blade if you are going to blade something that is a good target. Turn 2, looking to Mobius or Collector. Depending on your hand, the different ones are going to be better. I think generally it's better to drop Mobius down. And then you have Colleen as well. Turn 3, I have Dakin as your turn 3 play, but if you have Mobius and Collector, it might be just better to drop the other one on turn 3, and then Dakin is kind of that backup, or maybe even that turn 4 play if you don't have Dracula. Turn 4, obviously looking to Dracula. That is one of the biggest cards in this deck. Hard to deal with for a lot of decks. Turn 5, Modok. You may want to hold Modok until turn 6, but if you have some good targets, if you have Swarm in hand, you're going to want a Modok on 5 so you can dump your Swarms and your Apocalypse can get hit by your Dracula on turn 6. So you're going to have to adapt on the last 2 turns. Generally, I like the Modok on 5. And then turn 6, you can Apocalypse and play the Swarms, or again, play the Modok. One of my favorite things to do actually with these discard lists is when you play Dracula, a lot of people and you discard Apocalypse at some point in the game. A lot of people assume that Apocalypse is coming down in that Dracula lane. So dropping Apocalypse just naked in another lane with some Swarms on turn 6 and abandoning that Dracula lane that they have already marked off that they're not going for it is actually sometimes game winning. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. Just an interesting play line, interesting trick that you can add in. These are the Patreons. I'm not going to read all of the Patreons because I'm not as good as Glazer at it, so I'm gonna let Glazer do it. So here you go.
So we've got thanks for Abigail Kiesling, Mandatory Burnout Cables, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, Father Newman, Good Dog Gamer Inc., Jane Everett, JD McDonaldino, Akela Platino, Caretex Lee, Coy Ray, KCH, Doku, Philip Rakovich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins, Rob Silverman, The Bizza, Jay Bussy, X-Force V, Skippy G, Tommy Nyquist, Black Dahlia, The Great Kazoo, Jessica Gamble, Models, Louis Antunes, Matt H, Mikey Hijinks, NoFlex, Ocularis, Pretty Chill, Seamus, Spike Jones, Two Ties, The Pirate King Tucker, The Homie Man, and of course, Gunny T.
And lastly, try out these decks. The Loki Supergiant deck is the most interesting to me, obviously, because of the discard. We've seen variations of it, but that Supergiant Loki deck I'm going to give it a shot. Maybe I'll do some gameplay over on my channel. If you're not subscribed to my channel, I'm doing a giveaway over there, 3 season passes at the end of the month. All you have to do is subscribe, leave a comment on a video. You get 1 entry per video that you comment on. So go check out my channel, do deck breakdowns, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you subscribe. If you're not subscribed here, Snap Judgments. Gunny is going to join me for the 2 games, so don't leave. Stick around for the games. Watch our commentary, and then next week, Glazer and I are going to be back to our normal video that we're doing. So as usual, if you love all things Marvel Snap, make sure you like, subscribe, the bell. I'll see you in the next one. All right, so we're jumping into the game between RJW and Mr. Friday, and joining me for the cast portion is Gunny. Gunny, how you doing?
I'm doing amazing. We have a really interesting match lined up here today. It looks like we're going to end up having a Loki deck on RJW's side. Both these players are 1-1, 1 win, 1 loss. So this will push them up. Whoever wins is going to have the 2 wins. Their person going to have the 2 losses, taking them down in the bracket there.
Yep.
But one thing we always love to see in a Loki deck is that Quinjet turn 1. Man, you've obviously played. I think everybody's obviously played Loki before, and having that turn 1 Quinjet that's almost a snap condition.
It is an early snap. He doesn't have Loki in hand, so I don't know what else is in his deck. I haven't done the deck breakdown portion of the video yet, so yeah, not sure. But having Snowguard and Quinjet is obviously a really good start. Mr. Friday is playing an Annihilus bounce deck for those of you.
Yeah, it looks like going on with the Annihilus bounce there, but having that Snowguard on turn 2, Agent Coulson's going to start filling up the hand here. So he's obviously got to play something out here. playing a Corvus Glaive, getting some extra energy might be good. Obviously you have the Shang-Chi, the Devil Dinosaur, and Alioth you don't want to get rid of, but man, that extra energy in Loki is just so awesome.
Yeah, I
Looks
do
like he's
also
choosing
like the
for this.
Corvus into Dark Dimension as well.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely an interesting play there. Get the 2 energy, 5 power out early is pretty nice, and it would only affect him at the very end of the game, right?
Yeah, but I guess it does make his Devil Dinosaur smaller if he decides to play that. So maybe not the best.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the Nihilus Bounce seems to be doing its thing, though. It's already got the Korg out early to start stuffing that deck full of stuff he doesn't want to see. He already has the Angela online, and that Spider Ham on the Shang-Chi there was pretty clutch play, especially if he gets out, his Sentry or a big Werewolf by Night or something.
I think Sentry
Definitely
is
want
not
to
the only target that. I guess Werewolf, if it gets big enough, can get hit.
Yeah,
The Sentry's
and get
it's a
priority there.
huge target. Yeah.
But
An
good
early
plays
Snow
going on.
Guard.
An early Snow Guard. That's an interesting play, right? Snow Guard. It's something I've always found an issue with Snow Guard, with Shadow King, is that playing it early just kind of feels bad sometimes.
Yeah, I meant I said early Snow Guard. I meant early Shadow King. Yeah, it's it feels odd playing it early, especially on something like an Angela, because it's just gonna
Yeah,
get
for
right
one
back to where it
point
was. Yeah.
But getting the Devil Dino out on the right hand lane here on Titan lane, it's a big play here. Obviously, he can't put the Sentry or a Werewolf there right now, so it's gonna be a hard lane to contest for Mr. Friday. I guess we're gonna see what he'll be able to pull out here with his turn 5 play and all those cheap cards in hand.
I actually I know that turn 5 Loki obviously isn't as good, but against a bounce list, I think I would have preferred Loki here. With the Quinjet out, you're gonna be able to dump your entire hand on the last turn.
Hmm.
Uh,
Do you think he's playing for an Alliance? Like, does he think that he can maintain priority in that middle lane?
I guess with the Eliathan hand, it's just tough because generally I don't think you would expect them to fill up Titan.
Ooh, and he does. He maintains the priority in that center lane. This is a tough move now. I mean, there's nothing that Mr. Friday is going to be able to do here. Do we see a snap on the final turn? I mean, I personally don't snap on the final turn because it's just going to scare him away. I'd rather take those 2 cubes, but in a tournament setting, it might be worthwhile. And there's the snap. Was that snap from RJW here, or was that from Mr. Friday?
I think it was from RJW. Yeah, it was.
Okay, I didn't see him click it, but yeah, I mean, and that's exactly my point right there. So had he not snapped, does Mr. Friday hold that and you get your 2 cubes out of it? That's always my fear with snapping on the last turn.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan about snapping on turn 6. I actually have a video from like a year ago. My thoughts have changed slightly on it. I think there's some situations where you do, but in a situation like that, I
like
think you
a
just play it out.
snapback. A snapback is pretty strong,
Yeah, but the initial
especially if you're
snap.
gonna do a surprise play, right?
Hmm.
All right. Well, pulling into the first one or to the next one here, we have an Absorbing Man in this deck. That's an interesting play where did these cards come from? Supergiant Absorbing Man? I didn't even expect that out of this Loki deck, but looking like we're trying to do Absorbing or Supergiant on turn 4 with Absorbing Man, and turn 5 with an Elias play on turn 6. Like that's a strong play, and Loki does maintain priority pretty well in the early game.
Yeah, I haven't actually run that package, that Supergiant package, since Supergiant came out. I didn't think it was that good, but I guess in a Loki deck it kind of fits.
Yeah, absolutely. And then getting rid of the Enchantress here with the Spider Ham doesn't seem like too effective for Mr. Friday, who definitely would have rather hit something else. But there's not that many. Are there any ongoings in Mr. Friday's deck? Not that I can think of off the top of my head.
No, I don't think so. It's pretty. I mean, RJW is going to be able to use the Enchantress for stats at some point. It doesn't really have any effect.
Actually, in the Quinjet out now, it's going to be a 3 cost 5 power. Like 3/5 is not bad.
Yeah, and if you can get that, squeeze that Zabu out in the next couple turns. Yeah.
Ooh, a Reality Stone going into the Space Throne there. That's a great pull from the Sanctuary to open up that lane. It's always scary to see a lane like that, especially when you're in a bounce deck, because you're kind of capped power. It's one of the issues that the bounce deck has, is being able to put strong power into one lane, right? There's nothing that will really be able to contest like a Devil Dinosaur. out of that deck. Sentry is your biggest card, so being able to move that lane and change it from being the Space Throne, that was a good play on Mr. Friday's behalf.
Yeah, looking back on it, I think once you see that location as RJW, you probably want to snap. Probably at an
Yeah.
advantage,
Okay.
but a little bit late now.
Yeah.
Chooses to go Snow Guard instead of Zabu.
There's Snowguard early.
I guess you don't
And the
want
Hope
your
Summer's
opponent
coming out for
cloning
Mr.
stuff.
Friday. Hope Summer's coming out for Mr. Friday could be pretty key. You know he has a lot of small things in his deck, so maybe we're going to see like two cards going in there, maybe a 1-drop and a Falcon or something to open up that lane back up, a couple low drops, and then getting with not having priority and trying to get that bear out there. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I was thinking of the bird. So he already popped the raft last turn, which is probably a good play, knowing that they could fill that the raft really easily and get that 0 cost 6-drop. And choosing not to fill it, that was a strong play too from Mr. Friday there, knowing they're going to be able to fill it next turn once it opens back up.
And I think the Sentry play lets you know that they probably have an Nihilus in hand. So I'm going to try to play around that. Yeah, fill up that right lane.
Yeah, pause. Fill it up. Avoid getting the void over. Ooh, a strong snap coming from Mr. Friday here. And I think that was a good snap on their behalf, right? So they have the possibility of throwing down the Annihilus onto the raft, getting their 0 cost 6-drop, and then getting rid of the void. And they're not contesting the center lane very strongly either. Let's see if this Annihilus ends up coming down.
There's
20
the
power on that
Nihilus.
far. Yep, there goes the Annihilus that we had expected.
They should know that RJW is running a Shang-Chi. I think that's what it hit. The Spider-Ham hit last game.
It did, yep. I think it was the first game, but yeah.
Yeah. So they should expect it if they remember. Obviously, there's a few games ago. I'm terrible at remembering that kind of stuff. So
Second Devil Dino going in for 13 more points added to Sanctuary. It's a very interesting play as well. Now, Mr. Friday does not have priority. So if they are running Shang-Chi in their deck, they will have the ability to possibly hit either one of the lanes, hitting that far right lane, the cloning vats, and getting rid of the Devil Dino, or just predicting that they're going to play a big, strong card into Sanctuary and taking that lane for themselves. They have a ton of energy to work with. They're looking at 7 energy and a 0 cost 6-drop. See if we see it here.
do you stay in here as RJW? Is this a retreat with them having a 0
That's a good
cost
question. I think going into 4 cubes here, I think you're ahead enough to. You haven't. A lot of these decks aren't running Shang-Chi, right? The bounce deck. So not being too scared of a Shang-Chi. 24 points is a lot to take over, and then we get a retreat by Mr. Friday. So he obviously didn't have it a good stay by RJW. And that's kind of what I was talking about. Is like I don't know how many good answers the bounce decks actually have.
Yeah, I guess that's a lot of power to try to stack them. Even winning the middle lane with a 0 cost 6-drop, depending on what it is, could be pretty tough.
Yeah, we didn't get to see it, but he could have got hosed with a Hella or something like that. Always stinks when you fill up the raft and get a really stinky 6-drop.
My favorite is when raft is left, you fill it up, and then you get a Giganto,
Oh yeah,
and you just can't play
the
it.
worst. Spider-Ham immediately coming out and taking out the Absorbing Man. That's a solid hit. So a lot better than hitting that Enchantress last turn or last game.
I'd definitely be surprised playing against the Loki deck and then hitting Absorbing Man.
That's true. Now you probably know you've already now you've got to kind of guess at what they're going to be playing there.
It's an interesting Falcon play.
Yep, and then Mr. Friday hasn't seen the Annihilus yet coming out of RJW's deck, so seeing the Absorbing Man probably scratching your head. He hasn't played the Supergiant yet either, so that's definitely a hidden combo in this deck. One of those big plays that you can pull out to steal a lot of cubes from your opponent unexpectedly.
Yeah, so it's also just really big against bounce lists that are dumping a lot of cards in the last couple turns.
Yeah. All right, so real interesting play here. I mean, this has got to be a snap, right? So he's going to be able to immediately slam down the Quinjet and the Loki with a pretty full hand, 5 cards in your hand. Like that's a lot. That's a lot of cards you're going to be able to get, and for very cheap. in the bounce deck as well. Like
Yeah, he
he's
may
gonna be
be able
taking
to
advantage
even
of this really
fill up
hard.
White Hot Room, depending on what he gets.
Yeah. All right, so we're pulling Annihilus with the hood, so that's a decent play there. Drop over 3 points of power onto your opponent's side. Got the werewolf, the rock slide, right? Like it's all lining up pretty decently. Let's see what they end up doing here. Does he fill up the white hot room for the extra energy, or does he fill the Stark Tower for the extra power?
Oh, it's tough because if you get the extra energy, your hand is already so cheap that unless you
Yeah,
top deck your
you're
like
also
Devil
limiting
Dino,
your werewolf.
yeah,
I like
it's
playing the werewolf here on Shuri's lab. Get the double power, get it just bouncing around. It's a solid move there.
and then I also like holding the Annihilus until last turn.
Yeah, very true. See what they draw into. So we're gonna have a pretty beefy werewolf. What are we looking at here? 8 plus 2, 10, 12, 14 power werewolf.
You could have swindled this werewolf into landing in Stark
Ooh,
Tower.
hitting the Darkhawk. I didn't even expect to see the Darkhawk in this Nihilus bounce deck. I mean, I guess I should have with the Korg and the Rock Slide, but kind of just forgot about it. But hitting that Darkhawk with your Spider Ham there, solid play. I mean, now he has a 5/4. That's not coming out next turn. Drawing into the Supergiant. Ooh, and we got a Nihilus last turn too. So I mean, the writing's on the wall here. I mean, Mr. Friday should be running, should he not?
I mean, I think you do have to assume that your opponent got your Annihilus.
Yeah, it's always hard to whenever I've played a Nihilus bounce and I played against Loki, it always feels like a priority game at the end. Who's going to have the last Annihilus played? So this is moving a massive amount of stats around on the board. Shuri's lab going to go up, so if he doesn't play anything over there, then RJW is going to be able to take it. That middle lane is going to take a bunch, and obviously on the right lane, having negative 13 points move over there. That's such a big play.
Yeah, I think this has to be a retreat.
I don't know. I mean, maybe he has an Annihilus or an Alioth in his deck, but even then, like that's
The question you have to
rough.
answer here as Mr. Friday is, are you more likely to win this? Is your opponent more likely to not have your Annihilus, or is he more likely to win 5 games in a row? Because you're going to be down to 2 life.
Right.
So
That's it.
you sometimes in
I guess
these
you're
types of
going all
situations,
in.
you have to take this game, even though maybe you're not likely to win. It's the highest chance you have to win the match.
That's very true. But this is coming down to like a huge swing here. Like it's so many points going on the board with that Loki play. And we got a Werewolf by Night moving into a Nico Minaru to get the points over there. Right. Oh, that is dirty.
I think
man, I hate
if
to
that's
see
going
it.
to be
Like,
your play, you definitely retreat there and just try to.
yeah, I don't know. That was good. What a great Loki draw in a premiere showing of this deck. RJW there playing the game really, really well here and winning the final one with a casserole down at the bottom, taking a 10-0 victory over Mr. Friday. Love to see it. RJW moving up to 2 wins, 1 loss in the league. We'll see how he does next week.
And then, yeah, let's get to the second game.
All right, having another really great game here. This is Ceno versus Vlad Villain, and we gotta have an exciting one. We have High Evo versus Discord. Both these players are 1-1 in the league, so this is gonna take up just like the last game that we showed, to 2 victories and 1 loss. I mean, obviously, someone's going to have 2 victories and somebody's going to have 1 loss, and the other one's going to have their 1 victory and 2 losses here. But it's got an exciting one here. I'm really excited to pull this match out here. So starting from Ceno's perspective, we see a pretty decent hand with the Misty Knight coming out on turn 1. He has some of the big ones in here with the She-Hulk in hand and the Hulk already. So, you love to see it.
Yeah. We're on turn 3 already? Did we miss turn 1? That was quick.
I think I was explaining. I think it was a pass by both players. Didn't really have anything. The Misty Knight wasn't in hand, and Ceno chose out to play Misty Knight on turn 2 with that collector dropping from Vlad into the center lane, getting the Morbius out there as well. Like this is perfect for Vlad. Right? This is exactly what they want to see. They want to see their early scalers out with the collector and the Morbius. Now they can choose to decide where they're going to put some of their extra power going in, what lanes they're going to contest. One thing I've always had trouble with whenever I'm facing high Evo is when, like, you have no idea when your opponent has Hulk in hand. Obviously, Ceno having it in their opening hand is so powerful, especially with 7 possible turns in the game. Like, it's so strong because it's going to end up being 20 plus power.
Yeah, I haven't
possibly
played high Evo in a long time. But yeah, it is kind of a guessing game on whether they're gonna draw their Hulk, play their Hulk, and you have to play around it the entire game.
Yeah, you sure do. And talking about this play right here, he was able to empty his hand enough. Cena was able to empty their hand enough to put that negative energy cost on with the Shocker onto the She-Hulk. That's another really strong play, and possibly throwing out the Leech here. Like, that's so good. If you can leech your opponent's Apocalypse, it's such a strong play whenever they have that Dracula in hand, right? So I don't really know what's coming down. Obviously, with the Bifrost pushing both the Collector and the Morbius into that far right lane, it's not exactly what you want to see. Those are your low scalers, so it's not too bad. And there's the play I was just talking about, right? So playing the Dracula out now and having that Leech possibly hit the Apocalypse.
I think you definitely wanted to snap last
Although,
turn
is this
before the
old
Leech
Leech?
comes out.
Hold on. I'm thinking about old Leech. So is this new Leech or old Leech? I didn't even look. It depends on when this game was recorded, and we'll see here. But removing the on reveal abilities, Apocalypse no longer has an on reveal ability, or doesn't have one, right? So it wouldn't be removed.
Yeah, I don't know when this was recorded. When did the patch come out? Tuesday?
Tuesday?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
No, the OTA was Thursday.
I'm
But
sure this was
the patch hit Leech last. Yeah, hold on, timeout for us. Timeout wise, Leech was hit last week, so this is definitely new Leech hitting the on reveal abilities. So that is not going to affect the Apocalypse at all. I'm sure that like other players out there, I haven't seen any Leech. I just kind of forgot all about it. But yeah, that's not effective in this matchup anymore. The same way.
It's interesting. I don't know if I would be playing Leech after the patch.
Well, so I think Ceno's playing Leech to remove the ability to get rid of your limboed lanes, right? So you're playing Leech to get rid of the birds, or you're getting rid of a Legion, anything that's going to affect your turn 7 ability. Something you're really looking for in high Evo. Ooh, a turn 2 Cyclops is a really strong play here too, right? So he's looking at possibly playing Magic to get his extra turn out, figuring out where he wants to play. Does he want to remove the cost or not? But getting out a Cyclops early, I mean, obviously you could play it next turn. Another strong play, especially in the Savage Lands where you already know you have 2 targets. Like that's going to be rough for Vlad to come back from.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty big. This is interesting. I don't know if I would have kept Elysium around as a high Evo player.
Yeah,
but I guess I don't mind it.
Well, I mean, removing the cost and then being able to use your energy effectively, having that Hulk in hand and now She-Hulk, right? Like that's what you're looking for. There's a reason why they're playing Hope Summers in a lot of these Evo decks now. Getting the Dracula down on the far right lane for Vlad, that seems like a strong play. It's obvious, Dracula is one of those cards where you're expecting to win a lane with it. And we got a snap there from Ceno coming down from that Leech play, and Vlad decides that it's not good enough. His hand doesn't support the play here, and took a loss, right? In the early 1 cube games for these tournaments, right, in the Conquest style here, like taking those 1 cube losses is kind of just feeling out the deck. It starts to get a lot more important whenever it starts at the high stakes round. So taking an L there, we obviously don't know what's in his hand, but it could be a very good play for them.
Yeah, I'd like to.
And moving.
Wish I could see his
Go
hand.
ahead. Yeah, we one match that was filmed by one of our mods where he's able to edit both hands in. That was a really cool one. Guest stream that. If you didn't see that one, Guest Gaming has his YouTube video out now with the commentary from this week as well. So we have two different channels doing these videos. So make sure you check him out. And that double-handed video was in there, and it was very interesting to see. Is this the third game in a row we're getting Morbius out early for Vlad? Like that's a really solid play going on there.
It's been his 2-drop, I think, every game.
Yeah. I think he had Collector last game, but I think it was his 3-drop on that game. So not a really good opening hand from Ceno on this one. Not really getting the hits that you want. Getting out the leech now could possibly hit some of those on reveals from Vlad, depending on what's in his hand and what he's trying to discard, depending on what he played this last turn. Um, not really too much to look at here. Got a Modoc and an Infinite in hand. Like, this isn't really lining up too well. Getting the Collector out there with the Meek, all this stuff growing. The Leech is so important here. Depending on what's in Vlad's hand, like if all of his discard stuff just got hit by that Leech, like that might be the game ender there. But if not, if he's not holding on to those discard cards, then he could still have a chance to pull this through with all these scalers out.
Yeah, I think Ceno's happy to see that She-Hulk now. He actually has the next 2 turns. He can skip next turn, play Infinite
Right.
She-Hulk, and be pretty confident he's going to win.
Yeah, for sure.
If he's going to snap, I guess depending on what comes up, it'll have to be this turn. Definitely don't wait until next
Yeah.
turn.
All right. So he did draw a Blade, being able to discard a Swarm. Getting getting a proc there on Morbius, and getting a couple procs there on the Collector. There was that Leech hitting the Lady Sif. That could be a big play, depending on. And then there's the snap from Ceno, seeing that he hit that Lady Sif and knowing what his next play is with the She-Hulk and the Infinite going into turn 7 here. That's a good snap, like you had just mentioned. That's what you're looking to do.
Do you retreat here from Vlad? Say you have Apocalypse in hand.
I think you're gonna have to, right? Like what does he play here? Does he play a Modoc? That, I mean, it just depends on what he got leached and what they drew. And there comes the retreat, like you had just mentioned. Yeah. So going down 3 points now to Ceno's 10, moving into our 4th game, last game of low stakes. And Vlad's taking advantage of every single one of these cubes and just making sure that he's only betting on winning hands.
It's a really
Seeing the space there
grindy
is
game.
really interesting. This is a grindy game. So obviously the biggest way we can contest here from Ceno's perspective would be the 20 power Infinite onto the Space Throne. Whereas Vlad, if his hand plays out correctly, he could get the Dracula to pop and get bigger than that 20 power Infinite.
Do you play She-Hulk here just to take advantage of the 5 energy, or are you holding that?
I mean, that's a great question. I think the correct play is to play it, right? So you know that the discard's not playing the She-Hulk, or not playing not playing Shang-Chi. So it's a safe card. Maybe he's holding it just so he knows where that energy is at, or where that plays at. And obviously, if he passes with 6 now, he could always play it next turn. So maybe that's even the better play, is get that Misty Knight out there. Don't play the She-Hulk. Get that down to 0 with the ability to play it for free next turn, and knowing where that power is going to sit. There's the Dracula play we had mentioned before.
Yeah, like I think if
So obviously
you have magic in hand, maybe you hold the She-Hulk, because you'll have that turn 6/7 where you skip 6 and then play Infinite She-Hulk turn 7.
Very
But
true.
with the current hand, I think you just have to play it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that, even without a turn 7, you can still drop that 20 power Infinite out and have your She-Hulk on board. Seems like a really solid play.
Decides not to play anything.
Getting the
so he
Blade
doesn't
out
fill
here.
up Bifrost.
Yep, that's a good call there. And obviously holding on to the Enchantress for possibly dropping onto a Morbius here. Oh, and I forgot all about Bifrost. So dropping that Dracula into the Space Zone is going to move out of the Bifrost. So still able to contest that lane possibly. And at this point, so with Dracula is so hard to play against, because your Infinite isn't always bigger, right? So maybe maybe Vlad's goal here was to just abandon the Space Throne and just have that be a throwaway lane.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm curious what he has in hand, what discard cards he has. This is a tough play for Ceno, because skipping turn 5 is huge here. Oh, he snaps.
It is, yeah. Ceno snaps, and what are we snapping on? Just the Infinite play coming out with the She-Hulk and the Sunspot going up 5 more points. I mean, that's going to be at 27 there, or sorry, 26. So that's a hard lane to contest in general, just depending on what Vlad's able to play. So we got the Modoc play, which I really expected to see. Discarding out, I'm expecting to see again. There'll be an Apocalypse here. We got a couple swarms going. Got to buff up the Collector, but it's not enough. Like that's so far behind.
This is tough for Ceno. I don't know if you stay in here. He only has to make up
Yeah,
7
I mean,
points in the right lane.
and we didn't see him. He didn't check to see what was discarded yet, so I didn't see the APOC discarded through that fast forward there. But you could, if you remember, you can now click on your opponent and look at the trash can and see what was discarded. And it looks like Ceno's making the choice here to go ahead and run, which seems like a pretty good play. With all those swarms being able to come out, he can only contest with one big card here, the Infinite. And is it going to be enough to take that middle lane? You don't really know.
And even if it is, you have to assume that Vlad's going to play into Bifrost to beat the 7 and then play something in the Space Throne. So,
right?
It's tough.
Yeah, and a good retreat here, right? So taking that snap early, where I think it was appropriate, knowing that your big power play is going to be able to come out, but then taking that option to retreat later, making sure your opponent doesn't just take extra cubes from you for no reason. But I imagine Vlad's probably got a good play here and going to go ahead and try to take these 2 cubes off of Ceno in this. And he sure did. Yep. So we're going down 2 to 3, 8 to 7 cubes. Moving into our first high stakes round. Great plays by both of these players. Seems like Ceno's the aggressor here, though. He's definitely been doing all the snapping, scaring some of Vlad's cubes out of him, which is good in those early games.
It's really, really disciplined retreating from both of them.
Oh, hold on. We have to talk about this for a second. Getting time theater on 2 Hulks we talked about it earlier, whereas there's no idea what your opponent has in hand, and now the ability to grow these Hulks throughout this entire game is going to be, it's just so much power, and it's going to be, your opponent just has to respect that, right? So getting the Sunspot out here, going to go ahead and get a little extra energy on it, pumping up those Hulks even more. If we get a turn 7 on this game, I'm imagining we're just going to see 2 Hulk plays.
Yeah, the 2 Hulks are only relevant if you can draw your magic, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. But now we have the Shocker hitting the Sheep, makes our turn 6 or our turn 5 skip possible again with a 5 power or a 5 energy She-Hulk into your Infinite She-Hulk play for 30 power added to the last turn. Love to see that with the Shocker.
This is a ridiculous hand that we're looking at.
This is ridiculous hand. All right, drawn into the subterranean rock here. So we're looking at now. Do you drop the She-Hulk this early, or do you just hold it? That's a great question here.
I think you have to
I
skip
think
the turn
I'm
anyway,
a
so
fan
it's
of
free.
dropping it. Yeah, I mean, we talked about, no, it's not free. It costs 5. It would still cost 1. But if we drop the She-Hulk out now, then we still have the option to play the Infinite. But then we also have it out there and don't need to worry about playing it later with a Hulk if we want to play something next turn, right? So he did opt to go ahead and pass this turn, pumping up a ton of energy into the center lane here. Now we got Vlad with that 3 extra energy coming from filling up the white hot room. Like, that's a dangerous place to be in for Ceno.
There's the magic. It does make the Hulks relevant now.
Yeah, there's the magic. I think he was hoping to see that last turn.
Yeah.
Magic opening up this huge play. I mean, these Hulks are already at 20 power. Like, how do you contest that as Vlad? Like, this seems like a really easy Magic and She-Hulk play for me this turn.
Yeah, you have to drop both. You can't hold She-Hulk any longer. You gotta magic into She-Hulk here. I think you're happy to see that snap too. I'd probably snap back in this situation. These are, I mean,
I'm sorry, I missed that. Here, right.
I'd probably snap back. Vlad just snapped.
All right, seeing the Dak in here, the Dak in here, pumping that blade up. We got a Dracula. He has all of his big cards in the deck being played right now. So both the players are looking at the premier hand. The only difference here is Vlad now has all that extra energy to play with, and we got a snap back by Ceno. Oh man, this is a big one.
This is
coming
huge.
down. This is for all of it, right? If somebody doesn't end up retreating here.
Yeah, I think if you're Vlad, you have to retreat here. With white hot room filled up, you don't have a lot of flexibility. I guess you can hope that the Dracula is going to get big enough, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, but he also doesn't know he has 22 power Hulks in hand, right?
Sure,
So
I guess we have
just a tough one to contest.
I don't like the Hulk play into Subterranean though. I think you just play it in middle.
Yeah, play into the white hot room and just say I'm taking this lane.
Yeah, and then you can decide whether you're going to play into Limbo or Subterranean next turn. This way, you're kind of locking yourself into having to play middle.
All right, and there Vlad's taking it back, saying like, nope, not good enough. He did that early snap, didn't see the She-Hulk and the magic play come out until turn 5 there. On the last turn, decides no, it's not good enough. I'm gonna have to hold out. So one of the hardest things to do in Marvel Snap is to take that 4 cube retreat, and Vlad's still hanging on here because they did it. Like a great retreat for that. I mean, we saw the hand. There was no coming back from that.
Yeah, he was not going to be happy if he stayed in. But now he's got to win 4 in a row. That's got to be a tough one. I've only won a few conquest matches where I come back 4 games down.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point there. But it's a lot better than losing last turn or
Yep.
last game and being out of it completely. At least now that Vlad has a chance.
Ooh,
Ooh,
free
and getting
limbo.
a free limbo. Wow, that is exactly what they want to see. Now are they gonna? I mean, there's no way for discard to change locations, so we don't really have to worry about that. I guess expansion could pop out something to ruin the locations, but I think at this point they're just throwing a little extra power out there with get the magic out.
I'm also realizing
Play
that
it.
on the recording, you guys can't see all of Vlad's lives. Neither can we. He has 3 lives right now, just to clarify.
Oh, okay,
It does look a little weird on the setup.
that does
so-
look a little weird.
Yeah, I don't know why, but he has 3 lives right now. And is all in.
Yeah, all in for 3 cubes now. That was Ceno's snap there, and it's a great point brought up. Ceno's so far ahead. You want to go ahead and get them all in early and take advantage of that, as opposed to letting your opponent play out 2 extra games there. Basically saying, I'm going to take this. If you don't take it, then you're out of here.
Also, a side note, people are going to be furious that I call them lives. I'm pretty sure I call them lives all the time. Anyways.
Yeah, those are cubes for sure. They look like little tacks, though. Like little.
In my head, they're
don't
just,
know,
that's how
little
much
kick
life you have, and that's how I interpret it. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to
Yeah.
stop for those.
Getting a leech down here early, like, so we're getting the leech down on turn 5, basically saying if you don't drop Modok right now, you're not going to be able to drop Modok. So I like that leech play, and I think it's actually come in clutch a little bit more than we expected it to. So there does come the Modok. We see the Apocalypse being discarded, making sure, and the Proxima Midnight. Wow, that is going to be a lot of power going in that far right lane. And what are we contesting here, right? Like that Meek is huge. Like, this seems pretty good. If I'm in Vlad's shoes right now, I'm feeling pretty confident about this play here. Go ahead, I can stack up that far left lane, knowing that I'm pretty confidently going to take the limbo. Lady Sif coming down, just discarding it yet again.
Skipping is I guess you have to skip this turn to get that 0 cost She-Hulk. I don't know if maybe playing the Hulk and then dropping something like Cyclops, Sunspot type thing on the last turn. Probably
All
not
right,
enough
so now
power,
the
though.
question is, where are we dropping, right? So I guess we're hoping on this play right here is hoping that we're discarding something big out of our hand for the limbo on the far left. If not, that 16 power is going to take it, and also depending on what Vlad drew this turn. So obviously just disregarding the far right lane, the Dracula, the Proxima Midnight, going to take that, and then the middle lane, the Infinite's going to be able to take that lane as well, you would imagine. But where does the power go from this Dracula? Are we discarding a Misty Knight, or are we discarding a Hulk? Because that's going to make or break these last cubes coming out of Vlad's hand. And he's all in. There's no other option here. If I am Vlad, I'm probably playing strong into that far left lane. How about yourself, Savage?
Yeah, he did. He does move the Meek, though, so...
Whoa, look at that play. I wasn't expecting it at all, but he went ahead and moved the Meek out of the center, saying, if you put She-Hulk here, then I'm going to win that lane. Just imagining, and he did a soul read there of no, you're not going to play into that far right lane. That was an amazing one. Great job by Vlad. And I think that's one thing that a lot of discard players, when they're new to playing discard, don't consider. That Apocalypse can still just be played for 6 energy. You don't have to discard it with Dracula. And that's exactly what Vlad did on that game. Is he just held it in hand, he used it for its big power, took that far right lane, far left lane, and left the far right lane alone.
Yeah, it's some fun mind games you can play with having the Dracula out. People assume that's going to discard the Apocalypse, so they play elsewhere. Then you just drop the Apocalypse naked. So
Yeah,
I do like to play.
yeah. What I mean, obviously, it's now 5 cubes to 3 in Ceno's favor going into our 7th game here. So Yeah, I mean, just scraping back from the bottom, trying to pull those cubes out of Ceno.
I do like snapping here for Ceno. You are going to be able to skip turn 5 and play She-Hulk Infinite, which is going to be pretty big. Um,
Yeah,
Choosing
that's
not to
true.
snap for that last cube, though.
The Kyra, kind of a dead card in this match, just 4 extra power onto the board, helping you out a little bit there. Hitting that shocker. That shocker is so important in this game. It's sometimes overlooked of what, how to pull the cards out of your hand properly. You want to make sure it's hitting, either the Infinite Hulk or She-Hulk.
Do you skip turn 5 to drop She-Hulk Infinite on turn 6, or are you skipping turn 4 to curve into Infinite Hulk?
That's a great question. I think it kind of depends on what you want to do. So it looks like, it looks like we're going to end up skipping a turn 4 here, but I do like that play, getting the Infinite down onto a lane early, and then deciding where you want to put that Hulk power out. You're also going to boost up your Hulk just a little bit here. He's been using all of his energy, so that's kind of an important play as well. Whereas I think, and we're seeing Vlad fill up that center lane with a Dracula. What a great card to put there, saying Morbius and Dracula are going to take this lane. I'm getting a free 6 cost here. I'm going to be able to use that to my advantage as well. And there's the magic that I think that they would have loved to have seen early. But are we playing magic here? Why aren't we just playing the Infinite out?
Yeah,
The She-Hulk, and
that's tough
you
because
can always play it again later.
you want the game to go a little bit longer so you can catch up here, but I think just dropping Infinite's probably your best bet. And retreat probably.
Yeah, I think Infinite left and just kind of leave it be, and then look at taking the Hulk. I mean, the Hulk's going to be huge going into that far right lane, and I'm not certain they'd actually be able to contest that very well. And I think the writing's on the wall here. A Giganto coming out for their free card, and the MODOK just discarding a ton of stuff. I mean, there's quite a bit of power still in that far left lane for Ceno, but I mean, this is tough. Like, I don't see a way back out of this one.
Yeah, there's no coming back. No Shang-Chi in the deck. With your hand, you can only really commit to one lane at a time.
No way to come back, but something else to point out, like there's no more cubes that Vlad can play now. So this is one of the most interesting parts of Marvel Snap, is we are not encouraged to play to our outs really ever. And this is going to be a great example of being able to actually play to your outs. The play we had talked about before, though, if we had dropped the Infinite on that far left lane last turn, I think that Hulk play still would have possibly been valid, because we're getting a play right now on turn 6, being She-Hulk or the Hulk, and then still being able to move that 10 energy around. Like that seems like that may have been the play. Obviously, we're looking back at it, the quarterback style here, but getting that 20 power out may have been the way to go. Oh, I guess we wouldn't have had an extra turn, but still, we would have been ahead over in the left-hand lane by a few points, and then with the possibility of being able to take something else here on maybe the far right lane.
Yeah, what do you play here? Do you just drop the Hulk, or are you playing? Oh, I guess you're disconnecting from Marvel Snap.
I mean, I think you're just playing the Hulk on the far right lane. That's got to be what you're doing there. I couldn't imagine being able to do something else. But going ahead and dropping all that energy or all that power down in the far right lane, holding the She-Hulk in hand to be able to boost up the Hulk yet again. Or sorry, I forgot the She-Hulk was already down. But yeah, I don't like it in the middle. Like, what are you doing there?
Yeah.
Get a couple of swarms coming down with an APOC. He's going to solidify that lane.
I wonder if Vlad forgot there was a turn 7.
Yeah, I don't know. What is he trying to discard with Dracula is the question here. I think Cyclops left has got to be the play, right?
Yeah, I think you have
Hoping they
to.
discard something really small.
Yeah, I think this is really your only play, and even then, it's...
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing a Proxima Midnight's going to possibly come out here. There's 7 points on the board somewhere.
I mean, I'm trying to think of what else they have in their deck that maybe they could have top deck that was small, that you still have a chance to beat.
Yeah.
Oh, they still have multiple cards.
Okay, filling up the board. We got we got in a bunch of swarms. Wow. This is actually really, really close here. What are they discarding? Maybe they kept Proxima Midnight in hand for the discard ability? It's a swarm?
Warm.
Okay. Yeah,
That
with a
was a
swarm
lot
adding up the
closer than I
collecting
thought.
boost a little bit. Yeah, that was way close. Now we're looking at 2 cubes on Ceno. Vlad crawling it back, pulling those cubes off out of Ceno. I mean, it's 3-2 now. Like this was looking like a blowout from the beginning, and now Vlad is just like really showing off the power of discard and how strong it is right now. Yeah, just amazing play from both of these players. But now we're looking. We have got a game, Yeti. I'm telling you right now. This is coming down to the wire.
Is that 3
At
games
this
in a
point.
row?
So that's it. And Vlad has the ability to still retreat once if they want to. Now let's see if they take advantage of it. Is Vlad gonna, see a hand? Oh, approximate midnight. What the like I said, this is the best card I ever want to see come out of that.
Yeah, as Ceno, you're happy
yeah,
that your
Vlad's-
high Evo got discarded, but then seeing the Proxima come down for free is rough.
Yeah. 2 spots always love to see out of Sinister London. Who does Sinister London affect better? I mean, I feel like Sinister London is better for Vlad, being able to get 2 Draculas, 2 Morbius, like all of your pump stuff. Whereas really for Ceno, you're going to be able to just get an extra Infinite, an extra She-Hulk, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's much better for Vlad if he can get the 2 Draculas and then get multiple discards on his Apocalypse. It's just gonna run away.
Mm-hmm. Calling Wing coming out here really just for extra power here. I don't know if they're trying to position something a little bit better, but obviously discarding the blade isn't exactly where you want to be at with the Calling Wing.
Yeah, I think I would have magicked the Sinister London as Ceno. It's hard though because as high Evo, you're generally happy to see Sinister London, but I think in this matchup you have to be a little more cautious.
Getting a 0-cost Misty Knight and getting a Leech out now. Huh. All right, this Leech could be really important now. You see they haven't used too many discard spells, too many discard cards, and be able to get that out early like that. Unfortunately, not having the, I don't know if I'm playing a Shocker into Sinister London. That's a rough play. Like, that's where you have to put your She-Hulk and you have to put your Infinite.
Yeah, I don't like the Shocker into Sinister London. You can already make She-Hulk extremely cheap.
Double
with one
MODOK.
Shocker.
So what do we? Oh, the MODOK was stabbed by the Leech. I mean, you love seeing that. But right now, Vlad's still ahead on points over Ceno here. So getting the ability to play our She-Hulk out, not knowing what is coming from your. I mean, is this just a full pass? Is this a full pass for Ceno, pumping up the sunspots?
I also like playing Cyclops right and then pumping up the sunspots. I don't know if that's
Well, so you have your top
more.
deck of the Infinite. It's a full pass here, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I guess.
I mean, you gotta.
full
If you're
pass.
Ceno right now, you have to play your outs. You have to count on drawing your Infinite, or else. And he does. He does the full pass, hoping to get that Infinite just pulled off the top here. Going
Top deck
up
Infinite?
and yeah, we got top deck Infinite
Hulk
here.
is okay
this is a
too.
close
Oh.
one here. Ooh. All right. Now it's going to really come down to what Vlad draws here. Is he able to take out? We got extra She-Hulk coming down. We got a Cyclops going to be able to be played. Like this is down to the wire here. Is what it just depends on what Vlad drops. But I mean, it's a ton of power. I don't think either of these players really drew optimally in this one.
Yeah.
I mean, really lucky for both of them. But if had any of the 2 players here had the real cards they needed, like this would have been over immediately.
Yep. And if that Leech didn't turn off that MODOK, I think it's a runaway game.
Yeah, for sure. Getting the Enchantress down there onto the Morbius that's a good play as well. Got the Apocalypse, was drawn a little bit too late. Coming down to here, we have Ceno clawing it back out. We have it down. 1 cube for Vlad and 2 cubes left for Ceno. This is the last game. It's coming down to the wire. We have the last one. Every single cube. Both players are going to be all in on our last opportunity to take this victory. Wow. Loving this game. Round 9, high stakes. That Leech was huge. Taking out the I only imagine that the Apocalypse was in hands where they were counting on playing into the Sinister London was a big Apocalypse.
Yeah, MODOK and Lady Sif got hit. That Apocalypse would have gotten massive with Sinister London.
It would have been. Wow. Okay. Going into our 9th game here. Getting Olympia drawn. Who does Olympia help more here? Does it help out Ceno or does it help out Vlad? I mean, it doesn't matter for either player because they're both in for all their cubes, but man.
Ooh, I don't know. Probably about the same. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Ceno didn't get his magic, so I don't really like the cards that Ceno. I don't like Ceno's hand at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, having that, you hate to see the high evolutionary on your far left position with a shocker in hand. Like
Yeah,
you've either got to play it to get that discount elsewhere, or you're just knowing that both high evolutionary and shocker are dead cards in your hand. Getting the Cyclops out early though is nice. You always love seeing Cyclops.
I think Cyclops right is probably the correct play. You're planning on playing Enchantress middle, so getting extra negative power
Yeah,
on Olympia I
true.
think is overkill.
I mean,
But
on that same note there, you can now count on Enchantress and Cyclops alone winning that lane.
yeah, yeah, I could see that. I
So
just I feel like the
that's
Enchantress
kind of
generally is enough to win the Morbius lane.
well, you also have two targets here too, right? So playing in the Baxter building doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to be able to hit things. Obviously, the Meek can move if you discarded something this turn, but just knowing that you have two targets, no matter what, is definitely a good thing for Ceno in this position. Vlad getting out the Dakin, one of those small scalers that we talked about. Same with the Morbius and the collector here. Love to see the Dakin out. Dakin and Dracula saying, "This is my lane. I plan on taking this one." That seems like a really good play yet again, coming out from Vlad. And now he's just got to figure out where else he wants to put energy. Probably not in the middle, right? That's a
Yeah.
tough one. Seeing the leech come out now this is just an important leech again. So turn 5, I'm imagining Vlad wants to play Modok right here, getting the Apocalypse discarded out of his hand, getting a whole bunch of extra points on Morbius. Like that could be super important. And I do also like that Ceno's not playing into that middle lane, just saying that I'm going to take this with an Enchantress possibly. There comes that Modok we talked about, discarding the Proxima Midnight, popping down into the middle,
Oof.
boosting up our Meek. Like, that's a ton of points, 24 points in the middle.
So
He's
much
counting on
power.
winning that lane, right? So we have the Enchantress coming down.
Yeah, and
That's
unfortunately, you
that's
don't
a
have
strong one.
Sea-Hulk, so skipping is not as strong.
Yeah.
I
So
think you
he
have to
can
play
win the
Enchantress
center.
now.
I think so. Man, so we got Enchantress that's going to pop down the She-Hulk to cost 4. We can't play a Hulk as well as that. We obviously, if we're playing it right now, we can't play out the Infinite. Doesn't have Sunspot to take advantage of skipping on the energy. So a full pass here. Is that what we have here? Full
Yeah,
pass. Just going to go ahead and say Infinite's going to take something
I
with
guess that
the
gives you the flexibility
Hulk.
to either go Enchantress She-Hulk next turn, or you can
Mhm.
go Infinite She-Hulk in different lanes if you want to. So I
Yeah.
do like the pass.
Very interesting play for sure. All right, went ahead and moved the Meek, which could be a good play for. I mean, that's just so much energy, though, or so much power going into that far left lane. That means She-Hulk can't take it. Obviously, the Enchantress can still win that center lane, but can your She-Hulk then take out that far right lane? That's the real question there.
Oh, this is tough. What do you
Yeah, you're
do?
just kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place here. So we got the She-Hulk pushing here. So all right, if we have She-Hulk and Shocker going into the far left lane, that's enough to take over that, right? We have 5 plus 10, 15, taking it up. Nope. All right, 5. Oh, there's the 3. That's right. We have 3 extra energy here.
Oh, he wants to float for
Liking
Cyclops.
so trying floating for Cyclops and Misty Knight, right? That could be really important. I don't know if we want to play in the center, right?
No, I think the She-Hulk Shocker left is the play. I don't think you play
All
Kyra.
right, so is this just tying? This is tying that center or that far left lane with the ability for that Meek to get popped up even further. I mean, it's going to. The Meek is going up at least by 1 point with the Dracula discard here.
Yeah, you still have the odds of them maybe moving Meek. You have maybe Misty Knight hit something
All
on
right,
the left.
it's
So,
coming down to this play though, right? So right now, Meek can move. You're right with that discard from the Modok. Man, oh, it's such a hard. Like, are they counting on them discarding something they don't want to? They obviously still have a swarm in hand, so the swarm's going to come down for free somewhere, I imagine, because you don't want to discard that swarm with the Dracula. But locking it in, saying my Enchantress and Cyclops are going to take this center lane. I'm going to completely abandon the left-hand lane, coming down with our Calling Wing in the middle, discarding the Apocalypse for an extra 4 points on that. That Dracula is going to discard the Apocalypse, going up to 18 points. That is going to be it. Got 22 points in the middle, going down at 2-9, but he has left that far left lane at 20 points. That Dracula is going to discard it. He's going to take it here with that big
Yeah.
point swing. 27 points in that far lane. Man, that was a good one. Holy cow.
Does the She-Hulk Shocker win left lane? I don't think it does, right?
I didn't. It didn't. The She-Hulk Shocker did not win that left lane. I think we had pointed out a little bit earlier that getting out our Hulk early may have been the right play there because you're kind of stuck. He wasn't able, like I think you had said it earlier, right? So playing that Enchantress early may have made them make some different decisions, but just the sheer power output that this card can put down, it makes skipping turns so difficult.
Yeah, that was an intense game. Came down the wire.
Yeah, just like camping intense. Oh, well, that was a good one, Yeti. I really enjoyed casting that one there. There was some great plays back and forth. You saw Vlad early taking advantage of those early retreats whenever the hand just wasn't lining up. And unfortunately for Ceno, those early retreats by Vlad were some of his best hands. And then at the end of the game, when we were in high stakes, he just wasn't getting the same cards that he was during the beginning part of that game. Or the beginning part of this match.
Yeah, and I think both players were super disciplined on retreating. That takes a lot to be able to retreat that many times that early. Just be very disciplined doing it. That's a sign of some good players here. And a lot of the plays they made, I think, were great plays. There wasn't anything. We've seen a few plays in the last couple of weeks. Me doing this with Glazer and just on my channel, with some questionable plays, and I don't think there was really any of those this game.
Yeah, for sure. There didn't seem to be any, and this was just a hard spot for Ceno to be in. He was in for all of the all the cubes. He took advantage early, tried to pull those 3 cubes out of Vlad in the one game, and unfortunately he was able to kind of pull it out. We saw Vlad, Ceno did a good job. Ceno did a really good job pulling those cubes out of Vlad, but I have to give it to Vlad, like being so disciplined on their retreats. He took that 4 cube retreat. Remember that one? He was in for 6 cubes through Ceno's snap, and he took that 4 cube retreat, which is so hard to do, especially in this, knowing that you're going down to 3 cubes versus 8 at that point. But they showcased right here why that's important, being able to just claw your way back up out of a hole like that.
Yeah, that my play probably would have just stayed in, lost a long time ago. But setting yourself up to be able to do this kind of thing that was insane. It was an insane comeback. So good game to both of them. Well done.
Absolutely. And it was awesome hosting with you, taking place for Aaron Glazer this week while he's taking a much needed vacation. He's on the beach right now, enjoying some sun. And I am here with you casting. So it was really fun to meet up with you and cast this.
Yeah, that was awesome. We haven't gotten to really talk much outside of organizing the tournament. So this was fun.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, everyone, we will be bringing you more games next week. Next week is the last week of our Swiss rounds. So we're going to hopefully pull in some of the top ones that are the win and in for our pod champions. From there, whoever ends up winning our pod will be going on to our season victor. We have 8 pods. We're going to do a single elimination bracket for all of those players. We'll be bringing you some of those games here on the Snap Judgments YouTube page, as well as guest gaming, hosting those games every week. So we look forward. Thank you very much for joining us here. And if you are a player out there and you want to have your game streamed, you can ask us on the Discord about where to submit those games, and we could possibly pull yours for an awesome commentary by some of our seasoned vets here, like Savage Yeti.
Yeah, I'm excited. This has been a lot of fun. I'm hoping we do multiple seasons of this, because watching other people play has taught me a lot about my gameplay, and it's just been a lot of fun. So make sure you guys join the Discord if you're not already joined. Sign up for next season if we're doing this again. And
next season will be popping off at the beginning of May.
Perfect. Thanks. See you, everyone.